I'm Artistic Gamer 7, and welcome back to some more Sims 4 speed building with the D&D mansion, where I will be sticking all of my D&D characters in after both series are finished, and then doing a little mini-series to see what chaos ensues. So right now you might be a tiny bit confused if you've been keeping up. If you've missed the last episode, definitely make sure you look it down in the description below and click the playlist so that you can see what has happened up to this point. But I did realize, like, one of the people that I am creating room for in this episode is Amara, and she does have robotic parts and stuff like that. Obviously, she will have a few things in her room that probably reference to her mechanical limbs, but I wanted to actually include the robot thing. Maybe one of them, maybe like every once in a while when I take mild control of them, maybe I'll make one of them make some cleaning robots, because man, this house is gonna need it, something. But I am trying to have little control over them every once in a while, like for the most part, I mean. But obviously when it comes to some rooms they're not going to automatically just go and use and do stuff in, so every once in a while, if it seems like something they would do, maybe I'll have them every once in a while do some stuff, but we'll see when the time comes. We got a bit before the mini-series anyway, but I thought I'd include that little change there where I was trying to add the robotic thing. Also, this room, like this episode, this particular one, I probably could have included a third room, but it would have been pushing the time a little bit. Plus, the third room, if you remember me talking about it in the last two episodes, I did, because of some issues with my Elgato and other things that happened, like my computer just had a flip moment, and I had to re-download Sims and like all this stuff, and I was afraid I was going to lose everything. Luckily, I did not, but I did, when it come to my Elgato, lose some stuff in the Elgato. So there was like 3 or 4 videos that I lost. 2 of those videos, I think it was 3, and 2 of those were part of this series where I was building, so I lost some of the bedrooms, which makes me sad. I do go back and go inside them and record them, and I will be putting that in the video so that you could still at least see them. But the build process and like seeing more of where the location actually is in the house, sadly, is sort of lost. And I apologize for that. I tried my hardest to try to find it and try to recover it, but there was just no way of recovering that piece. But that will be in the next episode, so you will see those rooms in the next one. But the next person after, because this is Ife's room currently, we're also going to be seeing the creation of Amara's room as well in this episode. The next one after that is Myron, and like, I had started his room on one day, and then it was a separate recording, and finished his room on another recording. The finishing of his room is where I started losing the footage, and then like the start of Valencia's room is where, like halfway through Valencia's room is where I have the footage back. So the characters in between those two, I had to go back and do like a little tour of their room. And I did a little tour of Myron's room, because you technically don't get to see the finishing of it. So I did a tour of his room as well, and I decided that I would include at least the start of the creation process of his room, but I would do it in the same video as showing off the tours of the rooms that sadly got lost. But I tried my best. Hopefully, still showing the tours at least gives you a good idea of the building process, and you'd at least get to see the final result before the mini-series starts off. But today's episode, we do not have to worry about that. This is just going to be Ife's room, the slight adjustment to the little lab science-y room down there. I think I do some slight adjustments to the hallway at one point, and Amara's. So that is what we have in today's episode, and as you could tell, Ife is going to have a lot of cat-related objects, and I do give her like a little cat tower and stuff like that, because I imagine, even though, you know, Zuzu is not hers, I imagine that she would be like, hey Zuzu, you can come stay with me anytime you want. She's a tabaxi, and there's a part of her that like tries to be all serious and stuff, but, and you know, probably would be like, everyone thinks that I would like cats just because I'm a tabaxi, but in reality, she does actually really like cats. But she tries not to admit to it, so she's like secretly trying to coax Zuzu down to the room. Like, that's just how I would imagine her. But like, she is a cat lover, because she just does actually really get along with cats, and she really likes them. But she wouldn't admit that part of her in a way, if that makes any sense. She wants to portray of, I am very intelligent and smart and serious, and you cannot break my face of nah. So anything that seems cute and loving and adorable, any of those things, she really wouldn't show those too often. But yeah. But as you can tell, we have a lot of purple going on, but we do have splashes of red with her color scheme. I do try to put in things that look sort of symbols of what you would usually think of, like psychics, so like moons and suns and like that sort of things, gemstones and stuff. I eventually put some gemstones around her room as well, but I'm keeping mainly with purples and whites with that hint of red being splashed in there here and there. She does have like this computer thing, but technically it's only for like research and debate. You can't do like regular computer stuff on that. So it's not like she's getting access to a fully functioning computer. This is just for research because she is someone who I would imagine would actually sit around and just randomly research stuff as like a hobby. So that is the whole purpose of that desk and computer. I mean, it technically is a computer, but for some reason those computers can't access all the stuff a computer can. I try to sort of, in my head, I'm trying to like imagine how that would work realistically, but I don't think there's any computers out there. I mean, obviously like a school computer would have, and like work computers have restricted access. Like at my job, like they just recently updated us to use Google Chrome instead of the Internet Explorer, but there's only so much we can do within Google. So it's only for the stuff that they have allowed access to. So in those situations, I get that a computer can only do so much, but when you put these computers in your house, I'm like, how does that technically function? Oh, well, anyway. Don't worry about it. But there's a reason, we'll figure it out later. I also made the point of making sure there was like quite a bit of bookshelves and things like that, and shelving in general, that she has like these little gemstones sitting on, and she has books sitting on. I even gave her like this weird skull thing and stuff. And so I don't imagine she's someone who necessarily would knit. If she just randomly starts knitting, okay, whatever. I don't imagine she would, but the reason why I got that was because she is a tabaxi, and again, there's a part of me that wants to think that there is a slightly childish, innocent side that is hidden deep within her. So I gave her those so that she, like, I just imagine that she sometimes plays with the balls of yarn when no one's around, and maybe also to coax Zuzu in. But that is sort of my thought process for giving her the little knitting bag, just because you see mostly balls of yarn in it, so that's why she has it, is the yarn. But I sort of had a lot of fun just adding some of those little things like that into this, like, because she is such a more serious character. Stoic, a word that I could use to describe her. Sometimes I forget the exact definition of that word sometimes, but yeah, she's just very like, she doesn't show emotion very often, like anger, sadness, jealousy, any of that stuff. She tries not to show any emotion whatsoever, and she likes to be taken very seriously. But I want to imagine that there's a part of her that has a slight non-serious side, but she's just trying her best to hide it. So, and like, part of me really wants her and Myra, because like, so when I designed Eva through Nyx, I think is the last one, they are technically D&D creations that I used the evolutions as inspiration for. Efi is Espeon. But I gave them slight different personalities. Like, if you set the Eevees, and then my Sims that I based just directly from the Eevees, and then my D&D characters that I used the Eevees as inspiration, there would be a lot of difference going on. But, and even personality-wise, because, like, my Glaceon Sim and my D&D character based off of Glaceon, they are totally two different personalities. So, that being said, with Efi, I want to imagine that secretly she would like to be close friends with Myron, because Myron is slightly all over the place, insane, energetic. Not necessarily insane, but, you know. He's a little bit crazy. He's all over the place. He doesn't mind to show his childish side and stuff like that, and he's just a ball of pure energy. So part of me wants to imagine that she would actually get along with, like, she would like to be friends with him, but because she's trying to put on this face of seriousness and everything and never show emotion. She just acts annoyed at him all the time. But in reality, she's not that annoyed, actually. But yeah, that's just, I don't know why. That's just a thing that's like a headcanon for my own characters. Because I haven't got a chance to sadly play any of these D&D characters in D&D except for Nita for a little bit. Then COVID happened. And technically, 2 of the members of the group didn't want to do like the virtual thing where we talked through mic and stuff like that. They wanted to be in person, which I don't mind. I don't mind either. I don't mind switching up over. Like, if we can't all physically make it to one house, but we technically could play, then we could do the virtual thing. But there was 2 people that didn't really want to do the virtual thing, so that just ended. But yeah, so sadly I have not got to actually play any of these characters in D&D, but I do have like my own little stories and like imaginings of how the characters would react to each other, and like if I was to ever try to DM, all of these characters would be in my world somehow, and I imagine how that would work and stuff like that. And if Eva and Nyx, like Eva all the way through Nyx, when I did the Create a Sim, so you know, Vaya, Efi, Myron, Itzel, so on and so forth, the ones based off of the evolutions, or like loosely based off of the evolutions I should say, they are a group that travels together, but then sometimes separate, but they have ways to connect to each other, even when they're traveling separately. But I would imagine that somehow she makes excuses to travel with Myron. It's just a little thing. The opposites attract sort of situation. I don't know if they would ever be anything romantic. I also don't know when it comes to D&D stuff how an elf and a tabaxi would go together, but you know, at least friends, at least good friends, is what I'm thinking. So, now in Sims world here, who knows what's gonna happen, because Sims doesn't look at her and be like, oh, she's got a tail and pointy ears, so she's technically not a human. It thinks all these are humans to some degree, even like, you know, the ones that are vampires, they're undead humans. So, I don't know what's gonna happen. We'll see. But, you know, I've got these pictures of cats that are sort of space theme on top of that, and I just like, with moons and stuff, I was like, ooh, cats, moons, stars, yes. Perfect! So yeah, there's just a lot of cats, a lot of like gemstone feel, galaxy feel, not necessarily to be galaxy space, but like when it comes to like psychic stuff, a lot of times symbolism is a lot of times moons and stars and stuff, so that's why I went with those. But I really do like how her room turned out. Sometimes red and purple, they're my 2 favorite colors, mind you. Red and purple sometimes can be, when you put them together, but there are ways to get around it. So I think doing the light purple as like the main color, and then doing a few dark purples here and there with the reds, it worked out, and then adding the white in there to sort of balance them also sort of helped. But I really liked how her room turned out, so I hope you do as well. Let me know down in the comments below what you think about her room. Here I am sort of adjusting the hallway. So as I was doing this build, I will say, I come to the realization either I wasn't putting enough rooms, or I was overthinking how many characters I was supposed to be, like, I had planned to make. And then, like, also, I came up with a character a little bit late, like, during the start of this series, where technically she was going to be connected to one of the characters that was in this. And later on, I've actually made some characters also connected to Forsythia that won't be in this series. Like, I've made quite a few D&D characters at this point. But I don't want to go too much, because she's the last character in the series. So I'll talk more about her then, but she is connected to one of the other characters who also hasn't went up yet, so I don't want to talk about him too much. But they are connected in a way that might cause some drama, some juicy drama, see what happens. So that's really why I wanted her to be in this series. So like, I realized I was like, I don't think I have enough rooms, and plus if I had her, I definitely don't have enough rooms, so every once in a while I'm adjusting the hallways. I think I've done some off camera, because I'm like, wait a minute. Because either I'm noticing the room is too small, and I'm planning on giving her the smallest room, like she's automatically at the end. So Nita didn't have to roll a dice, and this girl didn't have to roll a dice, because they're their paths were chosen, and Nita got to be first because she was my first D&D creation, and this girl, technically I have characters that I created before her that are not going to be in this little mini-series, and they're not in the Create a Sim, so she got to have a little jump start just because I sort of wanted to see if any drama happened, so she automatically gets last pick, which means she gets the smallest room, sadly, but anyway, that is just a story about why I will be moving hallways and stuff around every once in a while and trying to make sure. It really bothers me where I put the fountain on the main, like on the outside area, on ground level, obviously. I can't do anything right below, like, too close to it. Like, it's a very small water fountain area. Like, it is not very big at all. But there is a big area underneath it that I'm not allowed to build. And it makes me annoyed because it was right beside where Eefi's room was. So I can't build anywhere over there, and that space could have easily been like two, 3 rooms. One of them would have been a bathroom or something, but still, like 3 could have fit there if one was a bathroom or like some sort of room like that. But no, the game wouldn't let me. So at this point, you should be seeing the creation of Amara's room, which is my lovely cyborg lady. Now, if you remember, she does sort of have one of the more tragic backstories. I even put up like a little trigger warning just in case, but if you want to go watch her video, you can. I do have like a little thing where I talk about like if this stuff is sensitive to you, mute it, and I put like a little green check when it's okay and a red check when it's not, and then a green check comes back when it's okay to turn the volume back. So if you want to go see and hear about her story and get a refresher on her, just in case you have watched her already but can't remember, and same for Eefy. The link in the description below for their playlist is there. Oh, this. So sometimes my voiceovers, I admit, don't fully line up because when I get into editing, I realize I said a whole lot, or I'm like pausing a bit longer than I realized I was pausing. So sometimes my voiceovers don't match up. But I just seen where I went back to Valletta's room and added a little space heater from Snowy Escape because I thought, you know, a lot of times with snakes and stuff like that where they're cold-blooded, you would, like, heat. I don't know if I did that in Taman's room. I might have to give him a space heater. But yeah, I gave Valletta a space heater for the purpose of her potentially being more on the cold-blooded side, or, like, getting, you know, the cold being a slightly more issue than most people. So she's got a little space heater to keep warm. But anyway, back to Amara here. So she is my cyborg lady, and I try to keep that in mind. So, like, granted, this is like, I've put, like, the shower thing in her room, and I don't really technically know how showers would work, but in my main save, so the save where, like, my Eevee family and my Forgotten family, and, like, where I did the Townie Life series and stuff like that, that main save, I actually now have someone who has some cybernetic parts. She might eventually pop up because I'm doing like an update series on the Eevee and Forgotten families, and she's actually really close friends with Umbreon's kids, the triplets, Kaizen, Everett, and Nolan. Mainly Kaizen. I think she's closer friends with him, or is it Everett? It's one of the two. It's Everett. Never mind. Everett's the one she's closest with. But yeah, so she might show up, but I gave her the shower as well because my thought process is they probably have to take a shower differently than most people, because like there's probably got to be some sort of special like cleaning thing or like something in the water or whatever. So that's sort of my imagining, like she's got to take a separate like shower sort of situation. I thought about giving her the pod thing to sleep in, but honestly I actually have never given that to a sim, I don't think. So I'm not gonna lie, part of me wants there to be any remote chance of there being drama in this household, and I don't know if you can woo-woo in those things. Part of me wants to think you can, but just in case, I decided not to. Also, if she starts having some secret relationship with someone, maybe they want to come chill in her bed. They couldn't do that with the little thing. Also, that I started thinking about it, there's a part of me that's like, yeah, she's embraced her cybernetic parts, and she is growing accustomed to them, but there's a part of her, especially with what she went through, that probably would like the luxuries of like a normal human being and one who doesn't have to worry about these cybernetic parts and didn't go through this. Like, she slept in like a a cell-like thing for a long time. So I think part of her would rather have the more open space of a bed anyway. So I switched over to the bed instead, which I've been wanting to use this, like, headboard, footboard thing, for a while, and I never found a chance, like, for someone to use it for her. But I think it works really good with her, because I'm trying to give her room sort of the slight steampunky feel mixed with, like, sort of those olden vibes around, like, that situation. So I'm trying to find, like, a lot of stuff that looks like it's a little bit older, looks like it's more metal, and different things like that. And I just thought it fit with the aesthetic slightly more. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm really bad at fully figuring out, like, what stuff is 100% goes with this theme. So, like, I say it with my speed builds all the time when I'm doing, like, houses especially. I'm like, I'm pretty sure this is modern. I'm pretty sure this is Victorian. But don't quote me, because, granted, those are two that I can sort of figure out pretty easily. But then there's others that I start to get really confused on which ones they are. Like, I think, like, there's a type of houses called Georgian, or something like Georgia, with an N at the end of it. I don't know how to pronounce things either. But yeah, for the most part, I think that one's just, like, sort of a square house that has multiple stories. But at the same time, I feel like there's something more to it. So I'm not good with styles of houses. I just sort of find inspirational pictures, or just randomly start playing and building. And I just go with the flow. And the same thing with, like, themes. Like, I know for the most part what a steampunk is, but, you know, like, steampunk design anyway, in, like, themes. But there's some stuff that I'm like, I think this could be steampunk, but I'm not sure. Or at least would sort of fit with that aesthetic of a steampunk feel, I think. Like, it may be itself not fully steampunk, but I feel like it could fit, right? But, so yeah, I sometimes don't fully know themes very well. My brain just likes what it likes and thinks what it looks good together, whether or not it fits what people think of as a general theme. So yeah. Anyway, right now, I am going through the lovely catalog, and this is what I do. And I did choose to leave this in, because sometimes, like, I want to show people that what I do behind the scenes, sometimes with speed builds, to try to speed them up. And I figured this series is one good one to keep talking about this. But a lot of times I just go through the catalog and I set a bunch of stuff on the floor, and one, I just start placing it where it needs to be, but also it lets me sort of get an idea of what else do I need in the room, because I want these decor items in this room. Then I know that I'm going to need some more desk space or shelving space, or, you know, stuff like that. So I have a better idea of what else I need to add to the room that's, like, bigger sizes of furniture. So I go through the catalog and, like, pick out stuff that I want to put in this bedroom or the kitchen. I do it for kitchens a whole lot, because I like kitchens to have a lot of stuff on the counters, because realistically speaking, even if you're not using your kitchen a whole lot, if you're using your kitchen at least like most normal people, like, you know, it's not just a display kitchen, you have stuff on the countertops. You have your microwaves, your cookie jars, your jars for your sugar and your flour, and all this other stuff, coffee pots, utensils, oven mitts, cups, drinks, strainers. Like, you have all this stuff. Like, not all of it fits in the cabinets, and in some ways, putting some of it in the cabinets makes it more annoying to get, because if you know it's something you're going to use more often, or it's a pretty big item, you know, it's just easier to put it up on a counter. So, I like my counters to be cluttered in kitchens. So, I do it a whole lot for kitchens. So, if you're ever building and you're trying to make your build sped up, like, not too long for the video, that is one of the things I would suggest, is, like, take a time where you're just running through the catalog and you're grabbing items, sit them on the floor. You can cut that time out. Like, normally I would, but again, this video is just me sort of relaxingly building. I'm not stressed about the time, and also every once in a while it maybe help someone else figure out how to do their videos, or give them little tricks. Now, obviously, you don't have to do everything I do. You could do it how you way, but you can always take this as an adaptation of, like, I'm going to take this, but I'm going to do it a little bit differently, or, yeah, I'll take this, but I won't do this. But, you know, if it even slightly helps anyone, you know, hey. But yeah, with the kitchens especially, just cut out the parts where you're going through the catalog, and then, because if you're going through the catalog and then adding it directly on the dresser, then you go through scroll through the catalog again, it's hard to cut that part out, because then people will miss you decorating the top of that counterpiece or the top of that shelving, whatever it may be. They now don't see that decoration process, but doing it that way, you can cut out the whole catalog and they still see the decoration process. So that is just one of the things that I do. Obviously, it looks like a total mess. When you first start off, you just have all the stuff on the floor, but you know it's not going to stay on the floor, or at least most of it's not going to stay on the floor. If you're doing a teen's bedroom, maybe a lot of it is going to stay on the floor. But yeah, anyway, back to Amara here. So, I did try to have a lot of metal stuff as decorations, like I was saying. She does have a workout spot, but I also still tried to keep some hint of feminineness, because I think she still, you know, likes that part. I think that's why I sort of like the walls. Like, they look techy and, like, robotic-y, and she technically has robotic parts, but it also looks like this weird, like, pinkish rose gold, and then she's got this floral bed on top of that. But she also has somewhere to work out and exercise, so she's got that going for her. And, like, her room is sort of dark, but it's like a cozy dark, if that makes any sense. But again, like, she did spend quite a bit of time in sort of a darker environment. This is obviously more light than she would have had, but sadly, sometimes when, even in negative situations, you get used to something, so then when you leave, it's hard for you to adjust to a more suited environment. So, you know, it being a little bit darker in this room probably is more comforting to her, sadly, but it also still is nice. Like, it's like a warm light. She has warm lighting in this room. That's like, so it's like a nice cozy vibe. But yeah, I do like how her room turned out. Like, I think it looks nice, but it also does incorporate her, like, robotic steampunk vibe going on. Maybe, hopefully, that's something that is portrayed through this room. Let me know down in the comments below if you feel like you get that vibe from her room. Do you like her room? Obviously, you know, a lot of these rooms are very different, and they're for different personalities, so this may not be a room that you would stay in, but maybe you still like it. It's just not your cup of tea. But what is your favorite room also? I would love to hear, like, through this whole entire house. I think eventually I will do, like, one video that's just, like, the screenshots. I don't know, I don't know. Let me know down in the comments below if y'all would like to see just a video of screenshots. I'd probably still talk during the video, but if you'd just let me know. Would you like me still talking during the video? Would you like music over top of it? Would you care to have a screenshot video at all so that you could see all the rooms at once versus, you know, these videos split out like this? But I've been thinking about doing it, but I don't know if I should or not. So just let me know down in the comments below. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If so, please hit that lovely like button. Subscribe so you don't miss out on the future parts of this build, as well as the Create a Sim series that's going along with it, and then the mini-series that will be following after. So you can see what chaos potentially does ensue in that little mini reality show type thing. But anyway, I am going to be ending the video here shortly. I started my outro a little bit faster than I needed to. Sometimes that happens, but I do hope you're actually are enjoying the series and stuff. Like, I've had so much fun with the series, and like the cast series that's going along with it, and the build series going along with it. Like, it's just been a lot of fun, and I've enjoyed it quite a bit. It is dragged out, but at the same time, personally, like, I'm having so much fun with it. I don't mind. Hopefully you all don't mind as well. But I will be ending the video here. Hopefully I'll see you in the next one. But until then, bye-bye!